Let's talk about Nepal. Nepal update. Normally, I do not do updates on stories so quickly. We just did a discussion on the Gen Z protests in Nepal. However, the update is so insane that I have to cover it. Quick refresher, Nepal, between India and China, little country in the Himalayas. Massive Gen Z protests upending the political establishment of the country. Very quick refresher in case you missed it. People in Nepal, especially young people, start getting really mad at all these rich, well-connected Nepo kids that are living luxurious lifestyles on the public dime. They all have rich, well-connected parents in the government, and they are traveling and buying Louis Vuitton and living lives of luxury while they live in poverty. This trends on social media. So, in response, the government bans social media. They crack down completely on almost every form of social media. At which point, everyone Gen Z in Nepal loses their shit. They take to the streets. They can no longer communicate. They're already pissed off at the government. They go crazy. At which point, the protests escalate. The local police fire into the crowd, killing 19 students. The students go, at that point, berserk, burn down parliament, burn down a lot of these rich, well-connected people's houses, and lead to the overthrow of the government. At which point, the prime minister resigns, steps down, and flees. And now, that was where the reporting stopped. This is like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And so that was caught up. And I said, when this happened, there's a big question mark as to what happens next. And my guess was the power vacuum would not be filled by, the angry mob, but likely by the military, someone stepping in to seize control. That's what happens a lot in other countries when this happens. And I was like, I'm cautiously pessimistic about what will happen. It's a cool protest and it's a good movement. I see their cause, but I was worried about the power vacuum. But I want to follow up with what's happened since, because it's pretty shocking. So number one thing that happened since is we got a lot of incredibly hard photos. Incredibly hard, generationally iconic photos have come out of what has happened since. We got this one. We got people taking selfies as Parliament burns. It is as Gen Z of a protest as you can possibly imagine. We got Gen Z protesters doing TikTok dances after burning the Parliament building. We got Subway Surfers IRL. These are actual TikToks coming out of Nepal, okay? That's all happening. But the real question was, who would seize power? Well, what's gonna happen next? Who is after this prime minister? So I want to introduce probably the likely candidate, which is General Ashok Sigdel, the leader of the Nepalese armed forces, highest ranking member of the armed forces. This guy has the most authority and power in Nepal currently, in a time of chaos and uncertainty and protests. So this is General Ashok Sigdel. This is Yuhan Rajbandari, and he is a random Gen Z dude in Nepal. Somehow, both of these people's opinions are going to matter. General Ashok Sigdel is the leader of the armed forces. And as things are burning, as people are rioting, as protests are getting crazy, he is the only one with any sort of authority left in the country. And, a little bit of background, the army is extremely respected. It has like a 91% approval rating in Nepal and has a long history of just success and discipline and effectiveness. And it's the only institution left standing. Everything else has fallen, only the army is left standing. It is an internationally famous fighting force. Again, we talked about this last video, but the Nepalese army somehow managed to fight the British to the standstill at the height of British power. They beat India, the Mughal Empire, at the height of their power. They beat China at one of the heights of their power. It's a tiny little country, okay? There's a proud history of success and discipline. Again, the elite fighting force of Nepal is called the Gurkhas. This is the one where they were trained with the British army. There's a quote I heard. I don't have it on here, but it was like, if anyone says they're afraid of death, they're either lying or a Gurkha. It's like the most badass quote I ever heard, bro. So anyway, they got a lot of respect. They're internationally respect and internal respect. And the idea was it would be pretty easy for this guy to sweep in, use the military power, and take full control. And this guy's representative of a lot of people, by the way, all they have is no institution, no political party, and the internet. All they want is better opportunities for young people. This is a quote he said. I want institutions to be corruption-free. We have lost time, development, and stability. But you'd think up against this, they'd have no chance. But the craziest thing has happened in the past few days. General Ashok Sigdel has not seized power. Instead, he has become an unlikely ally to the young protesters. This is a rarity in like a lot of human history in this situation. Instead, all they have done is calm down the protests, restore order, and then ask the protesters for who their representative is so they can speak to them. It's actually pretty shocking. So the soldiers took control, they fizzled out the violent protests, and then they said, we're gonna sit down with the young and little known leaders of the Gen Z protest movement and hash out a plan for peace. I mean, this is not what I expected in the last video. And again, it can all change, right? These are developing situations, but this is what happened since. The people can trust the army, a different general said, because its leadership is committed to remaining under civil authorities, aka not doing a military state. They want a civil authority above the military, which is like an incredible thing to say. So what happened next? If the military is not going to seize control and they are asking Gen Z collectively, what are your demands? What do you want? How does a disorganized collection of Gen Z people in Nepal make a decision like that? How? Discord. It is literally Discord. Discord discussions and polls. I'm not kidding. The Youth Against Corruption Discord channel blew up in Nepal and had thousands of people coming in and having vigorous debates with massive audiences in the Discord to determine who they wanted to be their representative. I had a recording here. I don't understand it yet. I don't know what they're saying, but they're having these debates. So I joined this Discord. I joined this Discord surreptitiously just to see what was going on. And I found one thing that really stood out to me, which was a few days ago when I was covering the initial protests, somebody posted my stream into the chat as it was happening. And then less than 1 second later, someone said, dissolve parliament. This is a real screenshot. This is the Atriarch broadcast into the Nepal youth group saying dissolve parliament. It's all mixed in together in real time. How wild is that? So the army asks this Discord, basically this group of people who go to Discord, who's representative? Who do you want to lead? They're having these debates. One name that keeps popping up is Balendra Shah. This guy here, a former rapper turned politician who is 35 years old and is now mayor of Kathmandu. This guy is one of the leading people want this guy. He's the guy that Gen Z is advocating for. Some people, again, this is a Discord full of Gen Z internet addicts in a lot of ways. So they're also throwing memes. They're throwing real names and fake names. And listen, I scroll up, I see you guys need a strong leader like Joe Biden to lead you. You know what I'm saying? Like this is all happening in real time. But after a vigorous debate and a final Discord poll, they select Sushila Karki. This woman here, who is an independent, she has no political party. She was the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Nepal and has an extremely long history of anti-corruption work. Now, it's kind of a shocking pick given her age. She's like 7, I mean, she's pretty old, but her background, from everything I could find, is pretty ironclad. She has a long history of being anti-corruption, which is kind of what the moment calls for. And it's kind of shocking they didn't just pick someone who like fits their vibe or aesthetic. They picked possibly the right person for the moment. Now, again, this is a temporary position. So after this Discord poll elects the new prime minister, by the way, first female prime minister in Nepal's history. This Discord poll elects her. She is now their voice to go meet with the military, which she does. Like, this is kind of unheard of. This is the first time I've ever heard of this happening. A Discord elected a representative, a good choice, who then met with the military and is now going to run the country for at least 6 to 8 months, probably, until they can stabilize and hold elections. I listened to an interview with her. She basically said that, you know, she's honored by the choice. She thinks it's kind of chaotic times, and she's going to do her best to uphold the values that Gen Z has placed in her and to try and get this country to a free and fair election, which is like, I know it's like, this is all kind of shockingly positive. Now, again, this could all turn. It's a dangerous situation. It's tumultuous. There's still a power vacuum. The government is still unstable. I'm just saying, in the first few days, I'm shocked at how positive this direction is taken. Now, this is still a Discord filled with a lot of young people. Not all of them are following the poll or know what's going on. So I did see some very funny things. After she won the poll, there were people asking like, who the hell is this? Like, this woman said, Who is Shushila Karki? Is he in this Discord? And like the response is like, I don't think a 73-year-old woman would have Discord, crying emoji. She's our first female prime minister now, and she's our former chief justice. Like, it's so funny to see this happen in real time and actually impact the politics of the country. I'm kind of blown away. Like, as we speak, these people are meeting based on the voices and actions of Gen Z in a Discord. So again, we'll see where it goes. I did want to end here, this little update on what's going on, by saying that this post really made me laugh because people were asking, like, if Gen Z overthrows the government, why wouldn't we pick like a Gen Z to lead? And Reshis here goes, yeah, but Gen Z, the oldest Gen Z is 28 years old. I don't think any 28-year-old is qualified to run the nation, crying. She's temporary until we have elections, and it'll likely be Balin, who's 35 years old. We'll see. And fair response. A fair response. A 28-year-old may not be qualified to run the nation. But I want to say, not only to my chat, but to anyone watching in this Discord, the ages of the American founding fathers were a lot younger than most people think. The people who built America, who set the Declaration of Independence, who wrote the Constitution, 20, 21, 25, 18, 30. I saw this as I was making this slide. I actually felt, I felt like a little lazy. I felt like a little embarrassed because Thomas Jefferson is a year younger than me when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. He wrote the Declaration when I'm 34. Bro's 33. I can't write a 1,000-word essay. That's way beyond my mental capacity. Like, I was thinking, what did I do when I was 33? If he was 33 writing the Declaration and changing the fate of a nation, when I was 33, I was playing Rocket League for Millennials, aka Harry Potter Quidditch, and having clips like this.
What's good, bro? What are you playing?
Seeker. Do you have any tips for that? It's my first day playing.
Oh, yeah, you did fucking horrible.
That's my Thomas Jefferson moment? So anyway, I sincerely want to say, we don't know how it turns out. And again, a lot of shaky interim governments have been collapsed before. But what they've done is pretty incredible. In the span of a few days, they have changed the course of their nation, at least temporarily, into one that is more against corruption and has some hope for a positive future. Whether that turns out or not, I gotta say I'm deeply impressed. I also want to say one other thing I'm nervous about. This is the last thing I didn't want to mention. I forgot to mention this last video. Even if Nepal can fully figure out their own situation, they can come together, work on it, figure it out. The power vacuum is not just something that the army could fill in on, but that China or India or the United States even could try to get involved in. That is the scarier part. All three of those countries have an interest in trying to have influence or control over the future of Nepal, and they might see an opportunity. So again, no evidence of this yet, nothing. And if it had to be one of them, it probably will be India because they have deep, deep economic ties, but it's just a possibility. It's something you have to keep your eyes open for because it could happen and it's a real threat. I'm impressed with what happened in Nepal. I'm impressed with the Gen Z movement there. And hopefully I can speed up a little bit of how I'm contributing more than just this. Thanks guys for watching. Appreciate it.